It doesn't happen very often, but it's a big deal when it does.
Speaking of big deals, Sports Lounge, Royal Rumble Edition, Drew Ahman. Who the hell are you? Who's this? Who are you trying to be there, Marcus? Scotty Olger?
Who was the last Twins catcher to wear the actual batting?
Lou Ford.
Tom
Prince?
Prince?
I would say Tom Prince, Brian Harper era catcher.
Oh, fuck, that's like 10 years apart.
Mike Redmond, really.
Fucking 20 years apart.
Mike Redmond.
Redmond!
Yeah.
Redmond!
Charlie Hildebrand's here. David Schottenkirk is here. Nathan Stacken also here. Travis Kriens here. Charlotte 49ers. It's a big day for Charlotte and Bills Bengals. So there you go.
Conference USA.
We do know the Super Bowl, and I think Marcus was the only guy to pick Denver to get there. Most people pick Carolina to get there, but you really like Peyton Manning, always have, and it was a heart over head pick. You thought, God damn, Peyton Manning going to do it one more time, and he did. Broncos Patriots defensive battle 2018 came down to the 2-point conversion. They didn't do a fade like Charlie wanted. They just did a shitty pass that nobody caught. Gostkowski with the missed extra point early on. That proved costly at the end. Mr. Traxler, were you surprised that you were right?
Yep, I was. I sure was.
Peyton Manning, how did he play compared to last week? I mean, he had a couple touchdowns this week, the first opening drive, a pretty good pass to Daniels, but kind of in this defensive mode, if he doesn't have to do a whole lot for them to win.
He played better, but he didn't have to do much, and that was certainly helpful for the Broncos. It was weird because they didn't really have a running game to speak of, and so you would have thought they would have needed Manning more. But once they sort of built themselves a lead, they were able to stay in front, and just enough. I have a feeling that that's kind of been the theme all season, and it's probably going to be the theme if they're going to win in 2 weeks.
Mr. Stacken, what impressed you most about that defense? Is Mr. Stacken able and willing here? Do we have a situation where we cannot hear Mr. Stacken? Do we have one of those deals?
He can't hear us.
He's gotten the bug here. He's gotten the bug. Redo it, Stacken. Redo it. You can mute it. You unmute it. Can you hear me? Nope. Nope. We can't hear you. Charlie Hildebrand, what impressed you about that defense?
I would say the way they were able to get pressure on Brady with all 4 of the guys on the line. I read some stat. I wish I remembered exactly what it was. It was something like Brady hadn't been hit in a game more than like 13 times all season, and he got hit like 25 times in this game. If you get pressure on the quarterback, quarterbacks don't play as well. I mean, that's pretty proven over time, and he got hit and he got beat up, and they did a good job. And Denver's defense is really good. I think if they want to find a way to win in a couple weeks, their defense is going to have to play pretty well. I don't think Denver's offense is going to lead the way.
I think, it's funny about the Patriots. If they do something, if they are really shitty in one aspect, we give them the entire benefit of the doubt, and then put all of the we praise everything about what the other team did. So while it's great for us to say that the Denver's pass rush was really, really great today, which it was, we should also consider the fact that, maybe the Patriots just really didn't know what the fuck they were doing today, protecting Brady. I feel like more than once the Broncos got pressure on Brady on a 3-man rush. I'm going to give plenty of credit to Denver, but we should also consider the fact that the Patriots were not really prepared today, in that particular aspect.
How, they talk about, they had James White, 5th-string running back, and he's going out in patterns, and it seems like New England's the only team that uses their running backs in the passing game as legitimate receivers. Marcus, what did you take from James White being a guy? Because this is kind of what they always do, whether it was Deion Lewis or whoever their random running back is that they use. I mean, it's a long list of guys.
Kevin Falk.
people were kind of like, saying, well, what, this was your fucking guy? Well, this is kind of what they do. They take a random fucking guy and a running back, and he catches a bunch of passes. That's their running game.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of an indictment on their passing game, though. I mean, outside of Gronk, and I mean, for them to throw the ball as much as they do, and really, I would say at the end of the game, their third best option was James White behind Edelman and Gronk, which I guess is fine. But I mean, the bigger problem, like Drew said, is they could not protect Tom Brady one iota, and they've been pretty battered with injuries all season. But whoever was the wood post that they had at left tackle today got ran past a lot by DeMarcus Ware, and Von Miller's pretty good. And like Charlie said, if you put pressure on a quarterback, he'll fold like a wet paper bag. I mean, that's what happens to quarterbacks when they're under duress, as they like to say.
Though we should say, the Patriots don't lose when Brady, Edelman, Gronkowski, Amendola play. They just don't lose.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Ever. And they lost today. So they're all healthy, so the credit goes to Denver on that.
Mr. Stacken.
Yeah.
Can you
hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you very good. What do you make of Mr. Brady's struggles in Denver versus Denver, whether the quarterback's a Jake Plummer, a Brock Osweiler, P. Manning? He does not do well in, 6-9? Only the worst record against any team. What is it
in Denver?
I mean, Denver's usually pretty good. Sometimes they're not, and it really doesn't matter. It seems like, what is it that Denver has New England's number?
Good question. I don't know if it's that mile-high air. Today, it was definitely Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware coming off the edges. You guys alluded to it, all the injuries that the Patriots had. I don't know. Today, I had a sneaky suspicion that Denver would come out and do something. I should have just gone with them Friday in the pick 'em and
God damn it,
and taken New England. But yeah, Tom Brady, for whatever reason, he struggles in Denver, and it kind of is. It's perplexing.
Did any of us really have any idea who was going to win today? This is like one of those games where, did we really know? Like, I knew Carolina was going to beat Arizona. I had no idea who was going to win this game.
I would say after the first 10 minutes, you're like, all right, this is going to be a pretty competitive game here.
Sure.
Because, the defense is too good.
In regards to Brady struggling in Denver, I think some of it is that, like, not always, but a lot of times Denver's just been really good. They've been really good the last few years. The first time, I think Brady's, first ever playoff loss, wasn't it, to Denver when they had Jake the Snake at quarterback? And I don't think Denver didn't play in the Super Bowl that year, but they were really good. They had a lot of good players, and if you have good players, you're more likely to win. And I think, sometimes we try to overanalyze things, and I think it just boils down to, if you want to say that, the Patriots have a better quarterback or a better coach, that might be true. But if we were just going to, break it down how talented all the guys that play are, clearly Denver's got a more talented roster than New England does.
I think it was, 05 when Pittsburgh won?
Yeah, I'd just be curious, too, to look up and see what Brady's record is when he had to go to Indianapolis to play, because I mean, that's one of the ones where obviously going against Manning, it seemed like year after year, New England's always playing either Indianapolis or Denver or both. Be curious to see what his record in Indianapolis is compared to that in Denver. I obviously know he's got more wins there.
Well, he's got the championship game loss was one, right?
Yep. And the one where they inexplicably went for it on 4th and 5 at their own 29.
They were at their own 1-yard line, said, we're going for it. That did not work out. David, we've talked about, New England running backs really doesn't matter. For receivers, does it not matter a whole lot for them? Obviously, they need a couple guys. In Edelman and Amendola, they need a couple of guys because Gronkowski's pretty good. But their ability to take these running backs and basically turn them into good receivers, is it like a running back sort of thing where just plug in any guy and Brady will probably find him?
It's sort of seems like that, but you look back at the way they were playing with Deion Lewis healthy this year, they were basically unstoppable on offense. He gets hurt for the season. They started their slide. Their slide had already just started then and continued. That would have been a guy today that would have been very nice to have in that offense. Obviously, they had weapons and no excuses. Denver absolutely won the game. New England didn't lose it. Denver deserves all the credit, and they're getting it, which is fine by me. But there is certain facets of offense that you'd throw in it because literally Julian Edelman in that offense is 1,000 times better than he would be in just about any other NFL offense. So there are guys that are made by Brady in that offense. Sometimes they get exposed, and they get pretty well exposed by not having a very good offensive line today.
Drew said that Gronkowski is one of a kind. Nobody like him in the history of the football. He's a big guy, pretty good speed. What is it about him that's so much better than anybody else? How much of it is Brady? We saw Jimmy Graham, who's probably his most close equal, go to Seattle and not do anything. It'll be interesting to see if he does something next year, since Seattle seems to be more pass happy now. But Gronkowski, would he be a guy where you put him, San Diego, Green Bay, wherever the fuck you put him, and he's going to be as good as he is?
Sure. I mean, do you watch Gronkowski play? Have you seen anybody like Gronkowski before? No, you haven't.
He's a monster.
Athleticism, speed, route running, it's incredible. I mean, he's the one of a kind so far in the history of football.
Okay, we'll do one of these things then. If he retired today, would he be a Hall of Famer?
I don't know how the Pro Football Hall of Fame even works.
I don't know if he'd be a Hall of Famer, but if I was starting an NFL team and could pick any tight end, I'd probably take Gronkowski.
Mr. Stacken, there were some interesting situational things kind of set up by the missed extra point.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? 6 minutes left, 7 minutes left. They're down 8. It's a 4th and what? 4th and 1, 4th and 5.
Yep, 4th and 1.
They go for it. They don't get it. Good call. And then the next 4th down, they go for it again and don't get it. A field goal there wins the game, basically, if everything after that stays the same. 4th and 1, very makeable. They didn't make it. Do you like that call?
I'd say yes, because there's no guarantee that you're going to be scoring a touchdown, and they hadn't been able to drive the ball at all pretty much the entire second half prior to that possession, and you don't know if you're going to be getting back down there and have a chance, so why not try and go for it? 1 yard with Tom Brady seems pretty makeable if you ask me. I'd like my odds in that situation.
Did they pass both times?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, because they hadn't had any real momentum at all in the second half, I think you have to go for it in that scenario.
Important to note that if the Patriots go for it on 4th and then end up scoring touchdowns on those drives, that they take the lead and win the game.
Yes.
Rather than come closer to not losing.
I would say it's not like a 4th and goal. It's they're at the 20-yard line, so they still have. It's not like if they make this 4th down, it's points. It's like they still have to score.
Right.
Yes.
I'm fine with them going with 4th down on both those games.
Yeah. There's maybe a 4th and 5 like last week. Maybe you think about it, but a 4th and 1, you should be able to make that. So.
Can we admit that both of those 4th down plays, both of those were a fair amount more important than the missed extra point?
Mm-hmm.
Way more.
I know the one, it was like a pass almost behind the line of scrimmage. And the guy didn't get the corner. Or was one of them a run? Because one guy went on the edge there. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. They didn't make it either.
There was one play where they did not have far to go, and like 4 Broncos guys kept them from gaining a yard. I agree. I do not remember if it was a run or if it was a throw or if it was a lateral that looked like a throw but technically constitutes a run. But there was one time where they did not have far to go, and the smothering Broncos defense said, "You shall not pass."
If it was the one Edelman that he was running in motion, and I believe they let Ware go pretty much untouched off the line, and Brady had to get rid of it a little faster, and then 3 or 4 Broncos converged on Edelman.
I like the idea of going forward instead of horizontal in that idea. So, Gary Kubiak, does he get any credit here, or is he just a guy? Larry.
I would say you have to give him some credit. I don't know what level of credit you give him, but the fact that this is a team that's stalled in the postseason in the past, and now he's reached the same threshold John Fox got to a couple of years ago, but I would give him a modicum of credit given that he's coaching a team. He's an offensive guy, but they've got a really good defense. That's not all Wade Phillips. Some of that credit should go to Kubiak, and the offense has a lot of different ways to move the ball aside from just Peyton Manning throwing it. So that's a good sign for the Broncos this season, at least.
The other
games. So, I mean, that's
what happened.
That's pretty good.
It's good to win 14 games in a year.
Yeah, and then very easily could have lost the game, and New England very easily could have lost the Super Bowl last year, and just play here, play there makes a big difference on how people view things and what we're talking about now based on a kick here or a yard there. So the other game of the evening was...
Real quick, I think the most important thing was Tom Brady's goofy-ass pump fake where he was on one leg and almost fell over. That was my favorite part of the game.
Yeah, he hopped on like twice.
The other game was not close. It was 49-15. Carolina beat Arizona. Carolina, they beat basically the two other best teams in the conference in Arizona and Seattle. So they did very well. I enjoyed the second half where they continued to beat the shit out of Arizona, so that was good. Mr. Stacken, this was a dominating performance for a team that's won many games by many touchdowns this year, and they've had a chance to win more games by larger margins, but they've had some late comebacks that they've still won. So what are you looking forward to in the Super Bowl here as far as Denver, Carolina? I'm looking, based on today, the defensive line versus the offensive line.
Yep.
Carolina.
The battle in the trenches is going to be the key to watch in the Super Bowl. Cam against that defense is going to be remarkable, and just the way that Carolina beat up Arizona today. Arizona's offense is way better than Denver's, and Carolina made them look absolutely silly today. So I think for Denver, it's going to be very difficult to move the ball down the field and score a bunch of points against the Panthers.
Charlie, Carolina had, or Arizona, they didn't play well last week and they won. They got their asses kicked by Seattle last game of the year. They didn't play very well versus pretty banged up Minnesota defense in November. It was just kind of a team on borrowed time that once they face the team that's going to knock them out, they really didn't stand a chance.
Well, like Bruce Arians said, it's a short elevator ride to the shithouse. So,
in the shithouse.
I'm going to give them credit, whether it was close or not. They beat Green Bay, and I think Green Bay was at least. We could debate how good Green Bay is. They were at least pretty good, I think. But outside of that, yeah, they had not looked great. And I think I think they just ran into the wrong Carolina team at the wrong time. I think Carolina's pretty good. They were significantly better than Arizona. I think you could have put just about any team in the NFL up against them this week, and the result would have been similar.
Palmer sucked in the playoffs. Thank God Fitzgerald caught that pass and ran for 75 yards. He sucked. Palmer was awful in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right?
He wasn't good last week, and he had 20 interceptions this week. So that's not good.
And it's not the finger. That might have a little bit to do with it, but it's not the full reason why he absolutely sucked ass today.
Yeah, well, you talk about Cam not having to do a lot in the playoffs, but 6 or 7 total touchdowns, 118 QB rating, 72% completions.
He has 50 total touchdowns.
Cam Newton. Bullshit.
What's the difference? Because we've looked at the numbers here: first 8 games, second 8 games. Well, I mean, he was awful. 53%, 14 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, like an 88 rating, which is what he's always been. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what's happened here these last 8 games. I have no idea how you're
That little
that
kid in
bad.
that commercial tried to make sure that his mom was his favorite, was the little kid's favorite
That's right.
player instead of Cam, and Cam wasn't having any of it.
I don't really think it's an accurate description to say, like, he wasn't any good and then all of a sudden out of nowhere. Like, Cam's always been
Oh my God.
freakishly capable of being, like, really good.
Like you
Like,
would say, his rookie year was his best year up until then.
Sure, but I just feel like for his entire career, Cam's been a player where statistically there's just more to him than what's on paper. And the fact that the Panthers go to the playoffs a lot with him playing quarterback, that's important. I realized that they were not very good when they made the playoffs last year, but they still made it. So there's just more to it than looking at Palmer throwing for fucking 4,400 yards but passing 42 times a game. Like, big deal. Like, it's obvious that Cam is way more valuable, brings way more to the table than Carson.
Nobody agreed with you. Nobody. What's the point of this?
What?
How would Cam Newton of this year do in past years with a worse defense or whatever defense Carolina had? Because their defense was pretty good last year. It's pretty good this year. I don't think they were that good 2011, 2012, 2013. So how much of this is to do with the defense kind of elevating the whole thing?
Sure, that has something to do with it. It has to do with every aspect, doesn't it? I mean, to go from winning 7 games last year and winning 15 in the regular season and now 17 on the year, like that's you're doubling your win total. So obviously, like, a lot of things are going better.
I would say maybe like the Colts, this is one example, but the Colts teams with Peyton Manning, their defense wasn't very good. And that offense, he was the reason why they won the 13 games a year and did whatever they did. And New England's defense has kind of been good, kind of been bad, but when they've been rolling very good, Tom Brady's had seasons where, he's put up great numbers.
Well, then isn't that the answer then, quarterback?
Well, in that case it is, but then I don't think in this case it's a little different, I would say, with the defenses. David Schottenkirk, let's get your thoughts. You may agree with him. I'm not sure. David Schottenkirk.
Is Schottenkirk gonna, like, all of a sudden be like, I've agreed with you the whole time. Why are we even talking about this?
Schottenkirk here. What do we got here?
What was that, Drew?
I'm just waiting for you to be like, why are we even arguing about this? Nobody disagrees with you. When all year, everybody's disagreed with you.
It hasn't been all year. It's been 3 weeks there, Captain, but whatever. He jumped on the Carolina bandwagon about 3 weeks ago, if I remember correct.
Not correct at all.
Let's hear it.
Right.
When did you get on? Did you get on in week 1 when they won the first game? I don't think so. Did you get on in week 8? I don't think so. You didn't start talking about the playoffs.
On or off things.
You're the greatest Bucs fan I know, so I'll give you that.
You're probably the only one.
Well, no, that's definitely not true.
When they were 8-0, 9-0, and they're like, oh, Cam, Brady was probably the MVP favorite, and there's like, Cam Newton, MVP, and you look at his numbers, and you're like, Jesus Christ, complete 50% of your passes, for Christ's sake, that's fucking, well, he's the guy on an undefeated team. It's like, well, fuck, no, that's fine, but he's not the MVP, and then...
Well, that whole thing was premature, but then, like...
But then he turned it on. I mean, these last... If you want to say him and Russell Wilson the last 2 months of the season were better than everybody by a large margin right there. So, Nathan Stacken, your thoughts on this whole deal? Anything you think needs to be added?
I think it's important to note that Cam Newton's has played this entire season without arguably his biggest downfield threat in Kelvin Benjamin. And I think this is a testament of you're not asking a quarterback to run the system that you want. You're building the system around a quarterback and doing it to his strengths. Cam Newton is very good at running. We obviously see that. They do a lot of shotgun, a lot of the option that you can see in college. So the Panthers know what Cam's strengths are, and they are utilizing that even more so this year than they did last year. And that might actually help them in the future because now you're going to add Benjamin back into the fold here come next season, and it's just going to give them more options, more ability. But they tailor to Cam's strengths, and I think that's the key in this argument.
I think Cam Newton, Aaron Rodgers both deserve humanitarian awards because they have both saved the careers of James Jones and Ted Ginn Jr. And for that, they deserve to be applauded.
Ted Ginn, Stone Hands Johnson.
Ted Ginn, I broke a pen throwing it at the wall when my Dolphins drafted him. I was so angry, and he didn't do anything there. And now all of a sudden, he's like he's a fairly good receiver because of Cam Newton. So kudos to Cam. Not to Ted, because I hate that guy now.
I know, Mr. Stack, in preseason, you were hard on Greg Olsen. You're like, Greg Olsen, give me some of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
drafted him in all 4 fantasy leagues.
And that worked out well. That worked out well, I would say.
Probably should have gone with Travis Kelce in one of them, but you know what? The main reason I had said to take Greg Olsen is because he was really the only viable weapon that Cam would have in the passing game. Who would know that Philly Brown would start to do something, and of course Ted Ginn in his hands. But yeah, that wide receiving core is trash, and Cam has really done a great job with them.
Here's something that bothers me about surrounding Cam Newton is like, so if a different quarterback would be going on the run that Cam's going on, think like Joe Flacco in the playoffs or like Eli Manning in the playoffs, there would be people who would be going, people would literally be asking this, it's the stupidest question of all time, but it's ESPN specialty. They'd be going, is Cam elite? So so I don't hear that, so it's like, so does that mean we all agree that Cam is elite? Or is a story about Cam just like, yeah, he's pretty good, but yeah, he just kind of dances and does all that stuff, and it's kind of weird.
Have you not watched TV the last 2 weeks? Everyone's been blowing him off and blowing his fucking joint for forever.
You can't have drugs. That's against the NFL players' agreement.
That was a serious question that you're wondering why they're talking about it more. That's all they talk about is Cam Newton. God.
I mean, it is a hell of a turnaround here from what they were late last year to what they've become now. Drew, you've compared them to Seattle. Do you think this is more than a one-year thing?
I mean, they're way better than anybody else in the NFC South, like, for the foreseeable future. Hopefully Tampa gets this shit together with Winston. But the Saints are in disarray, salary cap wise, and Breeze is old. So like the Panthers are gonna be like pretty good odds of winning the division for the next 3 years, which means they'll be in the playoffs, and which means they'll get a home game. So I mean,
slow your roll with the Panthers, like not having any challengers. I think the Falcons will be right up there next year.
No.
God,
We've been saying that for the last decade.
I know.
No.
They did have that 1 year they made the NFC title game and lost to Seattle, so I guess they've got that going for them.
It's Carolina's time in the South, like now, and probably for the next 2-3 years, which is unfortunate for me. But I'm not the type that just like hates the team arbitrarily.
Marcus.
Except for the Royals.
David, there you go. Marcus, how do you feel about, nobody picked Carolina to make the playoffs next year. Everybody will pick them this year. I don't know if I will or not. Benjamin's going to be back, so they're going to be better, but they're not good. They can't do any better than they did this year. It's they can go undefeated, they can go 19-0. That's the only way they can be better. But as far as next year, I mean, would it shock you if they did not make the playoffs?
I mean, given that the situation that's been laid out here in the NFC South, I would say it would surprise me if they're not in the playoffs at all next year. But I mean, what is it that we're guaranteed 4 teams every year in the playoffs?
At
One year's
least,
playoffs won't make it
4
the
or
next
5.
year. So, I mean, to say that they're not going to make it is, how do I know? I have no idea.
Why don't you know, goddammit? I'd say Houston's a pretty good bet not to make it next year. Washington's a pretty good bet not to make it. Kansas City, we'll see what happens. Denver, we'll see what happens with the quarterback. So, definite candidates out there of teams not probably going to make the playoffs next year. So.
Well, it's like I compared them to Seattle, but Seattle was in this crazy position where they were paying their quarterback $25, and that's not the case with Carolina. But I think it's still good. I don't know what Carolina's situation is with like UFAs and shit like that. I don't know. I don't know where they're at salary cap wise either. But I whatever. They'll be the best team in the NFC South by a long ways. So.
It seems like they can improve quite a bit receiver-wise. So, yeah.
You don't think the Bucs will be able to challenge them next year with their new offensive coordinator from Southern Mississippi, Todd Monken?
Yeah, I mean, I'll put some money on it, but I'm not going to broadcast that.
They should have. They should have picked up. They should have picked up Jeff Monken, run the triple option.
Good.
Winston, best option quarterback this generation.
There we go.
And one final point, address if you would the thing with them blowing leads in the second half. Is that concerning at all for you?
No, I can't believe because there's 2 sides of it. Well, the other side is that they're kicking the shit out of teams for 40 minutes a game. And you know what? Maybe they let off a little bit, run some different packages, don't try to score. Maybe relax a little bit with the pass rush or whatever. Maybe rotate some guys. It's ridiculous that we give them so much criticism for absolutely obliterating Seattle and then cruising to a win and pretending like that was a close 1-score game.
Yep.
Mr. Stack, and you got 35-7 versus the Giants fourth quarter. I think that's a tie game. So that's not good. I mean, that's historically bad. 37-14 Green Bay. That ends up being Green Bay chance to tie at the end. 23-6 Colts, 17-point lead in the fourth. And again,
Goes to overtime.
We're going. I mean, that's not good. I mean, those are, and they won all the games. Very fortunate that they should have won all those games. But does that concern you at all? These leads they've given up 3-4 touchdowns.
I'd say if they were consecutive games, that would be more concerning. But
well, I think Colts Green Bay was back-to-back weeks.
No, Colts. It was Colts Eagles.
Okay.
Eagles Colts. But that's beside the point. If it, like I say, if it were consecutive games where they would keep doing it, then that's definitely a major issue. But they answered the call today, and they didn't let up at all in the second half against Arizona. So I don't foresee that being a huge concern come Super Bowl.
Looking at Carolina's schedule, who would you think they would play if they win that first game of the year? No division opponent sticks out. They play Arizona. That wasn't much of a game. They play San Francisco, Kansas City, San Diego. Any of those 7 teams there seem as a likely candidate to open the year.
They would have to be Arizona or Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota Vikings. Any interest?
Actually,
Vikings,
yeah.
Panthers. Let's go.
San Francisco, depending on who they get at quarterback.
No way. No way. You're not going to put a 5-11 team on opening night.
Chip Kelly.
No.
North Dakota State Bison. Show me something, Carson Wentz.
We got to open up that new Viking Stadium sometime, some goddamn time, right?
So
they're not gonna have Carolina come on the road to open the season.
They've done that before with Super Bowl champs.
Because Carolina,
it's in Carolina this year, so the Vikings have to play them. So
they'll change it. Carolina will play 9 road games.
And we'll do the Denver schedule here too. Other big news, other sports. Mr. Schottenkirk, David Blatt fired. After a win, they fired the man. Eastern Conference best record. They didn't like him. What were the problems with Mr. Blatt, and why did they fire this man?
Well, the problem was that he wasn't really even the coach of the team. He was just kind of a figurehead, and they had players and the assistant there, who was the coach now. That wasn't exactly a great debut last night, but he had been doing most of the coaching anyways. Most of the coaching that anybody was listening to. Blatt was kind of over his head, in my opinion. Yeah, they had a great record and they made the finals last year or whatever, but literally if that roster in the East, you can pick up a homeless guy off the street and make the finals and make how bad the East was last year. But I think long term, Tyronn Lue's going to be just fine. He's been several years. He has respected the players instantly, but it was very odd timing. It's a move that I kind of figured if they didn't win the title this year would happen over the summer. But if it to happen in January, it means that what's his face, Dan Gilbert, owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, is feeling the pressure that they got to win this year or next year because LeBron's certainly on the downside and is pretty much out of his prime right now. So they're all in and they need to get a title. Otherwise, his plan of trading for Kevin Love and getting rid of Wiggins might go down as one of the worst moves in modern history of the NBA.
Charlie, is it safe to say that Cleveland really didn't expect LeBron to come back because they hired Blatt and then 2 weeks later LeBron comes back? Is it fair to say they were probably surprised because if they knew LeBron, if they knew there was a pretty good chance he was coming back, don't you think they probably would have waited on the coach?
That's an interesting question. I would probably agree with that because I can't come up with a strong reason to disagree off the top of my head. I mean, I will say that like the thought of like pros being like, no, players playing coach's coach, players don't get any say in the matter. I mean, some players don't, but when you're easily the best player on the team and one of the 5 best players on the planet, obviously you're more valuable than anybody else there. So, yeah, I guess you would think that LeBron would have some say. So, I guess I'm just agreeing.
The counterpoint to that, though, is that LeBron knew David Blatt was going to be there. So, I mean, I don't think he'd go there if he didn't think it could work.
True. That seems valid as well.
It's also a little tidbit information that John Calipari turned down a massive contract offer like 2 days before they hired Blatt. So they knew there was something in the works when LeBron was.
And if Calipari knows LeBron's there or LeBron is there first, maybe he does that.
Right.
And apparently from what I've read, this LeBron didn't have any input. I don't believe that for a goddamn second. I mean that's.
LeBron runs that team.
I mean he runs the whole deal. He's GM. He's everything. So.
You know what? Going back to the time of that trade, like, didn't Kevin Love to Golden State make more sense to you? I feel like I wish that would have fucking happened.
It would have been Klay Thompson, David Lee, and picks.
Yep.
Would they be as good? It's hard to think they'd be as good.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, Klay Thompson is pretty freaking unreal offensive player.
Where would Draymond Green and Kevin Love could they play together?
No.
Yeah, I actually think that would have worked well. I actually think that would work well.
Got those two guys, Steph Curry, a healthy Harrison Barnes, and some other jabron out there.
Kevin Love seems to be a problem. I mean, I don't know if it's just Cleveland or what the story is. Obviously, he was fine. He was fine in Minnesota.
Yeah, I think he would thrive playing the way Golden State does, but
that's probably true.
Yeah.
Why do you say he's a problem? His stats are obviously down. He's putting up, 26 and 13 with Minnesota. Very rare you see that on an awful team. Then he goes somewhere else, and he's kind of the Chris Bosh of the situation, the third wheel. Why do you say does he affect how good Cleveland is? In a bad way.
I don't watch a ton of basketball right now, so I'll just admit that up front. And so this is my very casual outsider's look on it. But It just seems like the Cavs are pretty ill-equipped to compete against the best teams in the league, considering how many big guys they have. I mean, big guys that aren't very good. And so I don't know where Kevin Love really fits in Cleveland. And the fact that he's been there for a year and a half, and it's hard to really see how he fits in there. His game doesn't really mesh with LeBron's game. Seems to be a problem. Obviously they took a pretty big gamble on bringing him in and giving away Wiggins. It wasn't really seen as a gamble at the time because you were getting Kevin Love, but now everybody would now it's a lot more of a question, if nothing else. So I would just say that maybe his stats, maybe I jumped the gun and said that his stats were, or that he's fallen off or whatever, but it's pretty clear it's not a great fit. It doesn't fit great.
Well, he takes fewer shots a game. I mean, that was bound to happen. I mean, he wasn't going to be a 26-12 guy. I mean, you knew it was going to change. And he's still an effective player, but, I mean, as far as, I mean, he sucks defensively, and it doesn't seem like he's in a position to, like, I mean, there was video of him playing some of the worst defense that's possible to be played that made the rounds on Twitter. I forgot who they were playing.
Be better than James Harden.
Yeah, they'd fit well. Trade him to Houston, and that'd be quite the fucking pair.
Yeah.
Christ.
Kevin Love, James, that would be fun. I hope he goes to Houston now, based just off that comment.
Travis? What did Love play in Minnesota? Like, was he
play basketball?
Power forward, right?
Yeah, I assume he played the 4, maybe some of the 5. I don't know. He got the old bastard. What's his name? The center.
Pekovic.
So what? Center. But what is Cleveland asking him to? Because it doesn't seem like he'd be the 4 in Cleveland, or is he still the 4?
The whole deal was he had Tristan Thompson play 4, and Tristan Thompson's kind of the more the defensive-oriented rebound guy.
And then Timothy Mozgov,
David, position. The ideal position for Mr. Kevin Love on this team, if that matters.
Shooting guard.
Ideal position would probably be, honestly, would be the 4 still, but the way the roster's set up, that's almost impossible because you cannot play him and Mozgov together, and him and Tristan Thompson together is not the greatest inside to do either. But we got to take a step back here and realize that it's January. We're talking about the NBA. And through 42 games last year, I don't have it in front of me, but I guarantee you, Cleveland's record was not 30-12 or whatever they are.
No.
I know they've got ripped by the very good teams. They've got absolutely ripped by Golden State. They played San Antonio tough. We can have it.
I mean, right now, it's Cleveland in the East by a large margin. I don't even know who's number 2. And
saying right now that they're ill-equipped to compete in the finals is kind of funny, considering that they took Golden State to 6 games last year with LeBron and a bag of fucking bricks. So.
Yeah, they can.
Cleveland had no shot winning that finals.
Good for you.
I'm just pointing out that
LeBron and absolutely nobody else. So let's see what if they're healthy, they'll be fine.
I don't really care. I don't really have I'm not trying to bring some sort of big basketball take in. I'm just pointing out that they have not played well against the good teams, and their lineup. I think their lineup is poor. I think their lineup, their whole roster. The lineup, I guess, is fine, but the roster, I would say, is fairly poorly constructed for what they need to do to win.
Because we know they're going to the finals. They're the best team in the East. They have to beat whether it's San Antonio or Golden State. You got to beat one of those 2 teams, and it doesn't really doesn't matter. LeBron's won the East enough. He's got to start winning 3-4 titles here, and you got to beat one of those 2 teams. So apparently there's a basketball game tomorrow between San Antonio and Golden State, I believe.
But Tim Duncan isn't playing.
Well, that's a shame. 9:30 Central Time, NBA TV. Mr. Rahman, this is a goddamn embarrassment that this game is not going to be on easily televised.
Why could you not just flex this game out and be like, never mind, you will play different teams tonight, and then we'll switch out who you play on fucking Thursday or something and put it on.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with flexing.
Sunday or some shit.
Just tell ESPN or TNT, pick this game up.
ESPN, what's? Oh yeah, Big Monday. What do we got? Big old Monday. What do we got? I have no idea.
Combined records of these teams are 78-10.
Not bad.
Or, you know what, tell ABC to...
We got to watch St. John's and Duquesne's play on Big Monday. It's important.
What's the bigger story? Oklahoma City not winning a title or, like, Cleveland not winning a title with LeBron?
Oklahoma City.
It's ridiculous, right?
Cleveland. I go with Cleveland.
I think Cleveland.
You have two top 5 guys on the same team with their...
Have they ever? Okay, Oklahoma City. Have they ever been the favorite? The year they got to the finals against Cleveland, they were probably the favorite in the West. Cleveland or Miami handed it to them pretty well.
I'm not talking about all the bullshit involving Cleveland. They haven't won a title in so long. I'm just talking like about it in a basketball way.
It's easier to get there in the East and the West. I mean, San Antonio, it's hard to beat them. Now you got Golden State to contend with. You had Dallas in the past. So it's a hell of an accomplishment to get out of the West.
Right. But, yeah, I don't know.
LeBron and Cleveland have had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
The fact that this era of Durant and Westbrook in Oklahoma City very well could pass without a title is a pretty significant story.
Is this like a Sean Kemp, Gary Payton deal, or...
This kind of happens. I'm glad you brought that up. This kind of happens. This happens. This is not the first time.
Hardaway? It happens quite a bit, you think?
This is a once-a-decade type thing.
Yeah, I mean, you have a team who has, like, 2, like, Hall of Famers on it or whatever, but they don't win a title for whatever reason.
Utah in the 90s.
Well, it was like Nash and Nowitzki never did, and then once Nash leaves, they finally won one, which is probably the last time them beating Miami was probably the last surprising winner.
I'm trying to think of like in the aughts.
I mean, the early aughts were awful. I mean, we mentioned 3 teams in the late 90s right there, Shaq and Penny Hardaway, the Sonics, and the Jazz that didn't win.
Well, I was trying to think of teams that were really good for like 4 or 5 years in a row, but did not win a title.
Like the
Kings.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if they had Hall of Famers, but the Sacramento Kings were pretty good but didn't win. But like you said, I don't know if they had 2 surefire, like, top 50 guys ever.
I mean,
the Kings was more kind of about a style that they were really great at rather than necessarily talent, but I don't know.
I mean, the Pistons, 5 straight Eastern Conference Finals? They won 1, they lost 1 to San Antonio, and then they lost 3 other conference finals. So there's that. But they didn't have any Hall of Famers on the team. So
what about the Knicks in the 90s?
Yeah, Patrick Ewing. Again, you have Charles Barkley. Yeah, a lot of guys didn't win for some reason. Some other guy won all of them.
I think about that.
There you go.
Kriens, you want the Denver home schedule for next year?
It's New England. I mean, that's the game.
They have Carolina on the schedule too.
Oh, motherfucker. You have Carolina the edge then?
I give New England the edge still, but
really,
I'd put New England 1, Carolina 2, Kansas City 3, Oakland 4.
I mean, it's New England or Carolina.
When's the last time the season opened with an Oakland Raiders game, if ever?
1972.
They when they got Randy Moss.
They played Pittsburgh.
2005.
Yeah. New England and Oakland.
That's right.
Yeah. That is right. Do we have a trivia question, Mr. Stacken?
I do. You guys are going to hate this, but
it'll take more than 30 seconds.
This is going hopefully. This will be the first of a series, and by far this one is the hardest one.
Wow, this is a series. Very good.
Yes.
Is this like Roots? Is this anything like Roots?
Is this number 1 of 4?
I can't tell. I can't disclose that information here to you.
Okay.
But there's been a lot of talk in recent weeks about Carson Wentz and him being drafted in the first round, possibly. Someone has said even as he won't last past Dallas at 4, which is absolutely absurd. But that got me thinking. How many we are familiar with the Missouri Valley Football Conference. So, how many players, active players from the Missouri Valley, are on active NFL rosters?
How many we got here?
I have there are 23 players from the Missouri Valley who are currently on active NFL rosters. I will give you some other clues as well.
And I will assume this means they did not necessarily have to play in the conference. They are just on a team that is currently in the conference.
Yes, yep. So it's the current setup
Teams.
right now. The current 18. There's 17 NFL teams that have these 23 players on them. There are no players from Youngstown State or Indiana State, but otherwise.
Boo. You suck, Indiana State.
Shakir Bell, not on a team.
But
that malnourished man.
How come Larry Bird ain't playing in the NFL?
He might be on the practice squad, but these are just currently like the 53-man rosters. So
okay. Very good.
That means every other team in the Missouri Valley has at least one representative, but not Youngstown State or Indiana State. So
who starts us off here?
We will go. We'll go Charlie. Oh, Marcus apparently didn't want to do this trivia question. That's a goddamn shame.
Awful.
So we'll go Charlie, Drew, David, Travis.
I will go with one double Z Zach Zenner.
Zach Zenner, yes, running back for the Detroit Lions, went to South Dakota State. Drew.
Marcus Williams.
Yes, Marcus Williams, cornerback for the New York Jets, went to North Dakota State. And Schottenkirk.
I'm a Kyle Emanuel.
Is it Kyle Emanuel? Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, linebacker San Diego went to North Dakota State. Travis.
Adam Vinatieri.
Yes. Kicker, Indianapolis, went to South Dakota State.
That's hilarious, because I completely did not even think of that one.
I figured that'd be going right.
I was trying to think. Yeah, I could think of it. Yeah.
I never give any credit to those special teams guys, I guess.
Nor should you.
Do you want the breakdown here of like the? Well, I'll just give the breakdown. Let's go back to Charlie.
Crockett.
John Crockett, running back, Green Bay Packers. Yes, went to North Dakota State. Drew.
The tight end out of Illinois State plays for the Chiefs. I think his name is James Shaughnessy.
Yes.
Shaughnessy.
Yep, James O'Shaughnessy. I'll give it to you. Tight end, Kansas City, went to Illinois State. David.
David Johnson.
David Johnson, yes. Running back, Arizona, Northern Iowa. Good game by him. He was the only Cardinal that showed up today and actually did anything worth a damn. So, Travis.
Michael Pruitt.
Michael Pruitt, yes. Tight end for the Vikings. Went to Southern Illinois.
Illinois.
Charlie.
I will go with one from Stacken's favorite collegiate team and his favorite NFL team. One Tyler Starr.
Yes, Tyler Starr, linebacker, Atlanta. Apparently, that's my new favorite team. But with reason.
You're saying watch out for them in the NFC South. They got to be your favorites then, right?
I didn't say they were going to win. I just said it's not
I'm just kidding.
No, it's not a runaway. Yes, went to USD. You guys are much better at this than I thought. I shouldn't say that. I hope.
I'm impressed.
All right, Drew.
My brother's a Chargers fan, and we talk about their punter sometimes because he played for Western Illinois. Mike Cyphers.
Yes. Mike Cyphers. David.
The backup / fourth string / basically shouldn't be on the team tight end. My favorite team, Clay Harbor.
Yes, Clay Harbor. for the Jaguars went to Missouri State. Fucking Missouri State with someone in the NFL. Unbelievable. Travis.
I'm out.
I don't see him on the list.
I'll say Triple H. Triple H.
No, there are a number of guys, or there are a couple guys whose last names start with H, but Triple H is not on there.
Okay.
All right, back to you.
Are you oh, there we go. There we go.
Back to you, Charlie.
I'm generally in the same boat as Kriens. There were two I thought of that other people have said, and I named the other three I know. I will guess Johnson.
Jesus Christ.
We already named the David Johnson, so...
So I will guess Jackson.
No, I don't see a Jackson on there.
Smith? Guess I'm out. I don't have any.
Yeah, I know.
Drew.
I can't believe we forgot about this guy. Pro Bowl quarterback, Brock Jensen.
No.
Omaha Beef. Let's go.
No. Brock
Yeah.
Jenson's not there.
I guess. I have no fucking idea who else is in the NFL.
I know. But you're out. So, Schottenkirk for the win.
We'll go with the player off Charlie's favorite team that got drafted last year or the year before, Billy Turner.
Yes, Billy Turner.
I knew there was an offensive lineman for the Dolphins. I never remember what his name is, though.
North Dakota State. Very good. Very good. So, ones that were not said, Xavier Williams, the defensive tackle for Arizona, went to Northern Iowa. Cameron Meredith, wide receiver for Chicago, went to Illinois State. Nate Palmer, linebacker for Green Bay, went to Illinois State. Terrell Sinkfield, wide receiver for Minnesota, just got signed. He is Northern Iowa. Ramon Humber, linebacker for New Orleans, went to North Dakota State. Craig Dahl, safety for the Giants, went to North Dakota State. Austin Howard, offensive tackle for Oakland, went to Northern Iowa. Shelby Harris, defensive end for Oakland, went to Illinois State. L.J. Scott, linebacker for Pittsburgh, went to Northern Iowa. Joe Mays, linebacker for
Oh, fucking Christ. Joe Mays. God damn it.
went to North Dakota State. And then Tom Compton, offensive tackle for Washington, he went to USD. So a number of these guys, when I was looking them up, like, I have no freaking clue who any of these guys are. But in total, North Dakota State has the most in the NFL, was 7, 5 from UNI, 4 from Illinois State, 2 from both SDSU and USD, and Southern Illinois, Western Illinois, and Missouri State all have 1.
Churn out more pro players, Stig.
Let's go, Stigmeyer.
Right.
Good question. Got more
Thank
than
you.
we thought we would. You said this is the first in a series. What does that mean?
Well, the series will be we'll do some March Madness related stuff as we approach closer.
With the Missouri Valley or not?
No,
Is it something different?
I think what we'll do here, I'll be looking at some rosters, saying I'll pick a college, probably look and say name all the players in the NFL from this college. Maybe I'll do NBA.
Okay.
Maybe I'll throw a complete curveball and go with the NHL. So
May I suggest players from Lyman County? Is that a suggestion?
we certainly could do that. I'll look to you to get me that spreadsheet.
I will go to the courthouse tomorrow and say which of these men are professional athletes.
Where are you going to? Are you going to go get their birth certificates or?
Whatever they get, voting registration records, DNA, birth certificates, dental records, whatever they got, anything and everything.
Or we could, sometime play senator or senator. I'll give you a name. You tell me if it's an Ottawa senator or a U.S. senator.
I was thinking Washington senator.
I'd probably go to the dentist for those dental records, but that's just me.
Probably.
That seems like a better idea.
Hey, courthouse, do you have their urine samples? No, you do not. Mr. Schottenkirk, has the Royal Rumble ended for you?
It has.
The Royal Rumble has ended for me as well. From what I saw, the finish looked pretty goddamn good. Highlights, lowlights. An hour Royal Rumble.
Who won?
Charlie,
Take a wild guess, Charlie, who won?
Was
What do
it
Bret Hart.
it Triple H?
Yeah, you got it, Charlie. Triple H won.
Bret Hart finished second.
Fuck.
Glad to see Hunter finally get a break that he's so richly deserved.
I will say this before you say anything else. He was the big favorite.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I go on the internets, the people will be mad. I'm fine with this.
That can't be right. Nobody ever posts angry stuff on the internet. That doesn't happen.
If I go there, I doubt they'll praise this, but this makes sense in the storyline-wise, and he'll lose the belt here in 2 months. And this whole thing, to me, makes complete sense. So in that aspect, I'm completely fine with what they did.
Good of them to negotiate getting the big break for Triple H before it started. Good.
Yes.
Good call.
So who's he going to wrestle at WrestleMania?
Roman Reigns.
That's your main event.
Yeah, Roman Reigns, Triple H will be the main event of what they're calling the biggest WrestleMania ever. It probably will be people-wise. But highlights of the match from tonight, AJ Styles coming in at number 3. That was really cool. He was in there for a while and was fine.
It looks to me him and Kevin Owens may be the match.
Yeah. Him and Owens would be great. Him and Jericho might be something. Him and Ziggler might be something down the line. I don't know. There's a lot of ways they can work that. Styles instantly probably in the top 3 in-ring guys in the company, so he'll be fine just about anybody. But no real surprises after Styles, and he really wasn't any surprise if you had been online at all the last week and a half. Kind of disappointing there weren't any big surprises in the 20s. Lesnar came in at 23, which is fine. Set up a match with Bray Wyatt, fine by me. But to be honest, the rest of the matches tonight were better than the Rumble itself. I was kind of hoping there'd be a number 31 if they were into the Triple H angle. He could have been 31. That would have made things even that much more amped up. But it was nice. They got Reigns out, and he wasn't the one to it. It wasn't Hunter and Reigns. Ambrose got a little bit more of a push, and he was the last guy in there with a chance to win it. Hopefully that helps because he's obviously a talent that they've misused to a certain extent recently. But again, another talented guy. A year ago at this time, I was seriously debating if I was going to continue to watch as much as I do. And I can say a year from that I'm more engaged than I have been in a long time because the talent level has improved massively. A lot of the top made stars are hurt right now. They'll hopefully all be coming back this summer. The product's in okay hands. Storyline-wise, it's still not where it could be, but it's definitely been better of late. So overall, I'm happy with tonight.
And the Roman Reigns thing where they took him out on a stretcher, he missed a large portion of the match. He comes back in. I would have, your main event, as we mentioned, Triple H, Roman Reigns. Looks like it's Kevin Owens and AJ Styles, or maybe that's just next month's thing. It would seem to be Dean Ambrose and Jericho.
Yep.
Since Ambrose unloaded on Jericho, so that'd be another match for a title. And Bray Wyatt, Brock Lesnar, that gets me kind of soft.
Right.
That leaves The Undertaker, and no opponent for him, and I have no idea who he's going to face.
Yeah, that's the one question we thought would be a little bit more clear after tonight, and it's still incredibly unclear. I'm kind of surprised that there was no mention and he didn't show up at all in any capacity. I don't know if that's a sign that they're not sure yet what they want to do and they didn't want to pull the trigger on something too soon, or if it's a sign that they're working on something bigger for the pay-per-view next month, which would be kind of surprising because you think everything you want to set up, especially in Taker's home state and potentially his last match, you want more than a month build-up, but the build-up to when the streak was broken a few years ago was the worst build-up to a match in streak history. It turned out being the greatest swerve, or one of the greatest swerves in company history, so hopefully they're working on something like that.
And finally, The Rock will be there in some capacity. I would expect him to be involved in the main event somehow.
Yeah, Rock's run in and screw Hunter out of the title maybe. was set up a little bit last year with Rock and Rousey in the ring with Hunter and Stephanie McMahon. I would assume that if he's actually going to be on or involved in any match, he'll be in interference capacity. I've kind of been banging on the drum that he was going to have a match himself, but after tonight, I don't think that's possible anymore, which is kind of, it's okay, but it would have been fine to have arguably the biggest star or one of the biggest stars ever had your proclaimed biggest event in history, but it doesn't seem like he's going to have a singles match at this point.
And you've got Triple H and The Rock for next year, if you want to do that. So
possible, yeah.
Do you want to give Traxel the trivia question if you would like to just see what he can do here?
All right. Traxel, you missed this here, but there are 23 active players, or 23 players on the NFL active 53-man roster from the Missouri Valley Football Conference. There are no players from Youngstown State or Indiana State. How many do you think you could name?
15.
I think I could do 10 or 11 maybe.
Wow. How many do you think we named? Over under 3.
More than 3. I think you guys did pretty well.
What did we? We got like 12 or 13 or so,
13.
something like that.
13, right?
Now, granted, none of us individually got 11 or 12.
Of course, yes, of course. You want me to take a crack at it?
Sure.
Okay. Adam Vinatieri.
Yep.
Zach Zenner.
Mm-hmm.
John Crockett. Marcus Williams. Billy Turner. Craig Dahl. Tyler Starr. Tom Compton. Mike Cyphers. Michael Pruitt. The O'Shaughnessy guy. The Chiefs.
Count it.
How many is that?
You have gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 so far.
10 so far.
Wow.
I don't know. That
Before
might be
you
it.
put forward a prediction, you've already done dramatically better than I thought you would. And I didn't think you'd do poorly. I just didn't think you'd be approaching 10.
Good job by you, Marcus.
Who's a cat from literally a cat?
From where?
I'm blanking. I'm blanking on this.
Who's the cat, Nathan? Who is he?
That cat.
Ernest
That cat.
Miller. That's who he is.
Cat Stevens, but he didn't play music in the Valley.
No, he didn't.
Different.
Cougar
LJ
Mellencamp?
Smith, is that in the Valley?
What's that?
LJ Smith? Is that a
No,
Valley
that's O.J. Howard. That's O.J. Howard.
There's some fucking Northern Iowa guys that.
It's
guy? Oh yeah,
LJ
David Johnson. Yeah,
Yep.
David Johnson. Are you
He's a
counting
kicker.
the Sinkfield guy for the Vikings?
I am.
All right, put him on the list.
That's a kicker out there. A punter.
You already said it.
Mike Cyphers, yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Good.
If I didn't get Mike Cyphers, I wouldn't be allowed to go to work tomorrow. So
Oh,
there's
Jesus
a
Christ.
certain Western Illinois grad I know that who would never let that down. Rodney Harrison, although he's not active, went to Western Illinois.
Let's
That's all I
say.
got.
Okay, that's very good.
I think Draxler wins.
You equaled everyone else, so
You didn't name Kyle Emanuel, which is
Shit.
one that I named. Or no, I didn't name. Never mind. Sorry.
Nathan,
Kyle Manuel.
what's the mascot for IUPUI?
the Jaguar. Jaws. Come on.
Is he going to be there?
Nice. And a little crotch shot too, right?
I have
You
to
gonna
make
be there?
fun of Stacken because he doesn't know how to say Jaguars.
How are you supposed
You'd
to
be better off saying it like the English way, which is Jaguar.
say Jaguar. Well, how does Marcus say it?
Jaguars.
Isn't that what I said? Jaguars?
War.
Yeah, you say Jaguars.
Jacksonville
Jaguars.
Jaguars.
Wire.
Jaguar.
You can always just say the
Wires.
Jags, too,
You could.
if
Yeah.
you're self-conscious about it.
Or just never talk about Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean,
Or IUPUI?
I mean, it's not that
Well,
much of
you
a
are.
stretch to not have to talk about either of those two.
How's the Jaguars? One of the black schools, Grambling State?
Southern.
Southern Jaguars.
Jaguars.
Wars.
I like Drew doing it like a British guy. Jaguar sounds more fun.
Jaguar.
Well, the way who's the 60 Minutes guy who passed away recently?
Andy Rooney.
No.
No, it was Bob someone. I can't remember. his
Simon.
Simon?
Bob Saget.
He would pronounce it like Jaguar.
Was he? What was he? What was that accent?
It was like just
Where
like
was he from?
British. I don't know where he
I
was
think
from.
he was from New York, but he spent like 2 decades as an overseas guy. So maybe that's how he got that.
Well, why do some people pick that up, and then someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger sounds the same forever? He doesn't sound any better than he did 30 years ago.
Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger can't really give up his accent. I mean, that's kind of his thing.
Is a thing like you can only add it, you can't lose it?
Well, I think with Bob Simon, he wanted to sound important on TV, so I think he kind of that was part of the deal.
I think like a Tony Oliva is really kind of struggling with the deal.
Yeah.
He is not good with the English, but that's
I'm
fine.
very excited to see how Miguel Sano does this season on the interviews. It'll be very nice. Any other?
Ticketmaster just releasing some information on the Super Bowl tickets. $4,333. So
Pick up a dozen of them.
Did you guys see that Thomas Davis has a broken arm, but he's going to try to play?
Nobody cares.
Don't do that to me.
Here's my thoughts on this. He'll be praised when he plays. And this is a Super Bowl, probably the only time we'll get there. And if you want to play, that's fine. But you're a dumb shit. So there you go.
well, Jared
You
Allen
said
wanted to play today.
I'm sure he would have been very important for the win.
Jared Allen, you're no good. Any other thoughts as we wrap it up here? An hour 15 minutes. Look at that. Look at that.
That's good. Keep it tidy.
What do we got? Any
One
other
thing-
thoughts?
Matt
One thing I would
Hendricks.
say about Jared Allen is that I'm happy that he always disses Idaho State, and I'm happy that it makes Idaho State mad.
Culinary Academy. What's he do?
Yeah, he just says something that's not Idaho State, and Idaho State gets all bent out of shape about it.
Dubrook. What do you? Matt who?
Matt Hendricks. Don't know if anyone saw the shot that he took. He plays for the Edmonton Oilers. They were taking on Dallas and on Thursday, and he got one right into the good old the man zone.
Oh, the man zone.
One to the package, and you should take a look at the picture he put up on Twitter of it.
I don't think so. I don't.
It's quite good.
If he, it left a fairly large indentation in his protective cup.
Good. He wore a
If he
cup.
wouldn't
That's
been wearing
good.
And I don't want to think about what would have happened if he wasn't prepared.
Yeah. But you can. It's funny because I watched the video from the Canada from the Oilers broadcasting, and the analyst says, "Oh," right after the shot. I was like, he knew it was a bad one.
We'll be back next week. First show in 6 months, where football will be limited. So we may have to talk basketball, college variety of sorts, see what's going on there.
We should do that. We'll do that thing where we go through the top 25 teams and then we just remark about which teams we're surprised are in the top 25.
And
Because
college
I don't
basketball.
know who's in it, really.
That'll be the trivia question. Who are in the top 25? Which teams are in the top 25?
I like that.
Xavier's still top 10, or what the hell's going on there?
Xavier's hard. Providence is hard. Drew Almond, are you hard on any team?
No, I haven't paid any attention to college basketball this year. I saw Michigan State had those neon uniforms, and then they won the game that they were playing wearing them. Denzel Valentine, there we go.
Denzel Valentine. I've had, Temple was kind of, I like Temple. I always do. Dayton in the tournament last year. Marcus, how do you feel about me being hard about the Friars? Providence.
It's a lot better than Temple.
I can't tell if you're being sincere about it or not. Seems like
I am. I am being sincere. I should get a Providence hat.
Chris Dunn.
I hate Providence's mascot, but I like pretty much everything else about him. So that's
I
good.
know.
And they beat Villanova, and you can't be mad about that. So
I know.
That's-
I see Jay Billis tweeting about like certain basketball players for certain teams, and I'm just like, shut the hell up with college basketball. I don't really understand. It's weird. I just don't care about college basketball like right now, really. I mean, Summit League I follow, but that's about it.
I would say that Providence's win over Villanova, in the eyes of myself and other pundits, it's one of the best road wins of the year. Best road
if
win,
not
probably.
the best.
I would say the best, yeah.
Good. Right up there with the Golden State's win at Boston a few months ago. So
That was huge.
We should talk about the leaders of the Summit League Conference and conference play. Was it like Uno and
Omaha currently number 1, and then I think it's Fort Wayne or IUPUI.
SDSU, IUPUI, and Fort Wayne are all 5 and 2.
there we go.
Last week at one point, the SDSU, USD, and Western Illinois, they were the teams that had beaten Minnesota and Wisconsin in the Big Ten, and they were 4th, 8th, and 9th in the Summit. So proves that those out-of-conference wins had no bearing so far on the standings.
nice of Denver and SDSU to play on Saturday at 2 in the afternoon.
Kind of ruins your day. Just 2 in the afternoon. It's not noon and it's not 7.
Just have it at 7. I can't go to the game now because it's Saturday afternoon. How many? Yeah.
Your church
I guess there's a basketball game Saturday afternoon, but it's like, we'll play it later, man. You can play even at 5 and I'd be able to go.
It's not even an excuse of like, well, they're playing it at 2 o'clock because it's on TV. It's probably not even going to be on TV.
It's probably not even going to be televised at all. And yet
They're just playing it then just because.
Stupid.
Dumb as hell. Next week we'll talk more dumb shit. Charlie Hildebrand, David Trappenkirk, Nathan Stacken.
Is next week the Hot Stove Show?
I don't know. Drew Alman, Larry Traxler. What do you mean?
Well, I heard
Baseball?
that there was going to be one big show where you just blow out the baseball before we get to the actual.
Was this Drew's thing or is this something different?
I think it's Drew's thing.
Well, I would say
My whole thing is I want to go through all the projections and stuff. We should have had the hot stove last weekend.
Well, we'll do. I mean, we'll do that here in February sometime before Alman's favorite spring training starts.
Pitchers and catchers.
Yeah, still a few more guys to be signed. Cespedes is signed back with the Mets, and he'll be a free agent next year because that's how that goes.
Everything spring training related can go right straight to hell.
But we'll talk about that.
I just know that Drew wanted to have a big show, and next week's kind of a lull in the schedule, so I was trying to help him out a little bit.
You want to do that?
It's so hilarious that people are convinced that they care about spring training.
You want to do that next week?
Whatever. Sure.
We'll do your big projection show.
The projection show. You want?
What's next week? The 31st?
I would say next week is just like the hot stove where we break down all the hot stove news.
All right, fuckers. Baseball it is. Get hard. Super Bowl picks in baseball.
Yep, that's it.
For all the men, wear your best hats next week. Sports Lounge 153. A tidy minute, a tidy hour 20.
Very neat.
You can go to here on and back, and maybe get most of it done. So there you go.
Holy shit! You're wearing a Rocky shirt.
Why wouldn't I? That's all I do. That's all I do is watch Rockies baseball.
Unbelievable.
My uncle is Walt Weiss.
What an idiot.
Mike Hampton, a ex-brother-in-law of mine. So.
Did you vote for him in the All-Star voting or the Hall of Fame voting?
A couple times. Yeah. Larry Walker, he'll be on the show next week, so look forward to that. And Royal Rumble, watch it again if you haven't. So, Rocky shirts, everything, baseball talk next week. Good night.